Jaume.
Hola, Mary Ann.
Què tal, com estem?
Molt bé, molt bé. Molt content d'estar aquí.
Sí, jo de qui siguis i de tot el que has fet pel Sant Jordi NYC, que ha estat magnífic. Jo crec que... Et fem una mica de vi?
Sí, i tant. Et fa res que em tregui la màscara?
No, per favor, jo també.
Oh. Així podem respirar aquests aires de Nova York. Salut.
Cheers.
Que bo que és el Priorat.
Que bo, sí. Uf. Doncs, jo, clar, volia que la gent sapigués, primer de tot, que tot el que hem fet de dieta mediterrània, o sigui aquest àpat que fem a migdia cada dia, ha estat guionat per tu, ha estat gestionat per tu i t'estem molt agraïdes.
Jo estic molt agraït també perquè la veritat és que m'ha agradat molt fer-ho. No ha sigut un esforç, al contrari, m'ha agradat participar i jo crec que aquesta part de la dieta mediterrània pot ajudar molts americans, precisament, a sentir-se atrets cap a Catalunya i cap a Sant Jordi.
Sí, és que a més el fet que la dieta mediterrània tingui tantes capes culturals, començant per la literatura, i que puguem presentar, no sé, tots aquests textos i en el context del bon menjar, és magnífic. I aquests grans xefs que ens has invitat a participar,
que són tots autors, també.
Que són tots autors, això. I començant per tu.
Bueno, jo sóc aficionat.
Bueno, però aquest llibre és molt bonic perquè, clar, explica la relació entre... Quina relació hi ha entre els macarrons amb formatge i Beethoven? O sigui, és bàsicament menjar i música, no? I com és que has fet això?
Bueno, va ser un llibre de plaer, és el meu hobby. M'agrada molt la música, l'alimentació és el meu ofici, diguem, i sempre... Des de fa molts anys sempre he trobat relació entre la música i el menjar, no? I la cuina. Però una relació que va més enllà de la inspiració, no? Perquè moltes vegades dius, home, doncs mira, aquesta peça de música em recorda canyella i llimona, no? No és això.
O viceversa.
O viceversa, no? O la canyella em recorda a aquesta peça de música. Això és més... De fet, el que faig amb el llibre és parlar de cuina fent servir la música com a mirall, no? I parlar de coses de la cuina, de com pensem els cuiners, de la història de la cuina, i sempre ho poso davant de la música perquè com que s'assemblen molt en molts aspectes, però la música sempre va per davant, diguem, a nivell artístic, doncs intento fer aquest diàleg que en el fons el que fa la cuina és aprendre de la música, no? I dels músics.
I m'acabes de dir que tots els guanys del llibre van a la Fundació Josep Carreras?
Sí, tots els beneficis del llibre van a la Fundació per la lluita contra la leucèmia de Josep Carreras, i per això tinc un interès especial en vendre el llibre, diguem, perquè tinc casos propers on la Fundació ha ajudat molt a superar casos de leucèmia i fan una tasca fantàstica.
Magnífic. Bé, doncs a mi m'agrada, em diverteix, gaudeixo llegint aquest llibre i he fet una petita traducció. He fet el... Oh! Clar, no estic connectada a l'internet, o sigui, haurà de ser el telèfon. Puc fer puc compartir-ho, però en realitat... Bueno, primer et demanaré a tu que llegeixis un tros del Caruso. Potser el primer paràgraf. Ah, sí? S'obre? Doncs llegeixo tu primer, que la gent senti com és en català, i jo el busco.
Aquell dia, el mestre Antoni Escrivà va baixar l'obrador tot mudat, lluint el seu elegant bastó i el folar de les grans ocasions. «Me'n vaig a l'òpera, nois!», sempre ens deia nois. Va dir visiblement excitat i va sortir per la porta de la Gran Via amb la seva inseparable Jocelyn Toloniat, la seva dona, de bracet. Era el 1999 i les portes del Liceu es reobrien per representar Turandot de Puccini després de gairebé 5 anys de silenci.
Eren 5 o pensava que eren 10?
Van ser 5 anys tancat.
No sé com ho he traduït com a 10.
Sí.
Aleshores, bé, jo llegiré tot l'article, o més o menys tot, perquè sí, perquè és un festival, diguem-ne.
Vols que fem un altre plano una mica més proper?
No? Vols dir?
Perquè se senti millor, bàsicament. Vale.
Projectaré. Bé. Carusos. Pastry shops are places of culture. Master chef Antonio Escrivá, 1931 to 2004, was dressed to the nines that day when he went down to the kitchen of the bakery, carrying his elegant walking stick and wearing the foulard he only wore on grand occasions. "Boys, I'm going to the opera," he said with evident excitement. And he walked out the door to the Gran Via with his inseparable Jocelyn Toloniat on his arm. It was 1999 and the doors of the Liceo were about to open upon a performance of Turandot after 5 years of silence. The boss, El Jefe as he was known in Spanish to the kitchen staff, was an opera lover and a person of exceptional artistic sensibility. But above all else, he was a Grand Master pastry chef of Barcelona. And fortunately not the only one, as Canals, Foix, Mauri, Fargas, Vives, Sant Antoni and Baixes are only a few of the names that have made and continue to make Barcelona a city of patisserie. A veteran of the International Brigades used to tell the story of a time in mid-Spanish Civil War when he asked a farmer in Aragon how far he was from Catalonia, and the man responded, "When you reach a town that has both a bookstore and a pastry shop, you will be in Catalonia." This anecdote, recounted by the writer and also Civil War veteran Eduard Pons Pradas, explains in a few words how patisseries have been authentic bulwarks of culture in our country. Those of us who have had the good fortune of working in a fine pastry kitchen know about these things. Meticulousness, this is now Jaume speaking, meticulousness, love of the craft, the constant search for excellence in ingredients and technique are the daily bread of this profession, whose practitioners work at ungodly hours at an often exhausting job. The recipe listed here reflects the suggestive, imaginative universe of tea biscuits, those small objects forged with a goldsmith's precision that can turn a mid-afternoon meal into a special, sumptuous occasion. Carusos are precisely that kind of tea biscuit. Carusos appear in one of the fundamental reference books of Spanish pastry making, the Formulario Práctico del Pastelero, Practical Formulas for the Pastry Chef, by Vilardell y Journet, first published in Barcelona in 1933 and re-edited uninterruptedly until the present day, having become a classic for pastry chefs all over Spain and Latin America. And they're named in honor of the Neapolitan tenor Enric Caruso, who was one of the most popular and influential singers of the first half of the 20th century, whether for his voice and technique or for his having been the first great star of the phonograph with hundreds of recordings. In fact, the recording of Vesti la Giubba from Leoncavallo's Pagliacci, which he did in 1902, was the first record to sell 1 million copies. How not to name an exquisite pastry after him? I love it. It's so good.
Yeah.
So tell us about what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
No. It's a very cool story. Caruso live. It's a line worth of a film. Actually, there's a film called The Great Caruso, a Hollywood film, which is not that good. But his life is like a film story.
But tell me about working in the Obrador, in the kitchen of Escrivá, and how old were you?
I was 19, 20 years old, and it was very good because I've realized by working in the kitchen of a pastry shop that pastry shop was much more than just the recipes or creating like delightful sweets. It was a lot of culture behind it. And Master Antonio Escrivá, he was a very metropolitan person
and cosmopolitan.
Yeah. But in the sense of he was a real what we call un señor de Barcelona.
Yes.
A gentleman from Barcelona, or a Barcelona gentleman. And he loved opera, he loved culture, he loved museums, and he tried to convey this love for art and culture to us. We were just like the workforce of the pastry, but he was taking time to explain about all these things to us, which I really appreciate.
Yeah. What is his relationship to Cristian Escrivá?
It's his father.
It's his father. Yeah, because Cristian Escrivá is one of the people in the Mediterranean diet segments. So, was that your first job in a kitchen?
No, it was not actually the first job. It was my first job in a pastry shop.
In a big.
No, I started like 4 or 5 years before joining Escrivá team. I started with very basic jobs. I used to do paella in the beach and barbecue up in the mountains. So I did different like humble kitchen jobs until I joined Escrivá, and this was the very beginning of my truly career.
So where did you go after that?
Well, after 2 years working at Escrivá, I was really tired because it was a tough job. It was a tough place to work, and I needed a break. So I decided to go to the university, and I told Cristian Escrivá, and he was like, "No, you have to work in a kitchen." And what kitchen do you want to work in? And I said, "A Bulli."
Had it just started? When was? What?
Oh no! Al Bulli was a well-known.
Oh no, of course it was. It was there before.
It was a well-known restaurant already.
Yes,
Actually, this was 99 or 2000, and he called Chef Ferran Adrià and recommended me, and I went to Al Bulli straight away.
Fabulous.
Yeah. I spent 5 years there.
But there was a moment of transition in Al Bulli, right? When it went from being a kind of French restaurant to being
this was much
French
before.
influence.
Actually Al Bulli has different stages. The first stage was before Ferran Adrià. It was a humble restaurant in the Costa Brava, and then it became one Michelin star French restaurant. But then when the chef quit, Ferran Adrià took over, and the first 2-3 years during the late 80s was a transition, and then the real revolution happened during the 90s. The 90s is this time where Barcelona was blooming and Catalonia was blooming, and we have the Olympic Games, but not only this, we have great artists, great actors. It was a golden age of Catalan culture, and the gastronomic part of it was Al Bulli. And actually, it was that successful because it had a society that supported. One of the keys of the success of Al Bulli was because the Catalan society was ready to embrace this new experimental cuisine at this time. And I joined right when it was exploding, all the popularity of the restaurant. In the year 2000, I think it was 2002 or 3, the New York Times cover.
I have it downstairs.
So it was I lived the moment of maximum success of the restaurant or popularity. It was great being there. It was such an honor and an experience.
I just want to make a tiny parenthesis because the Robert Davidson in our farewell event makes the point also that when the Eixample is being constructed, that there's that great moment in which who is it? Raventós starts making champagne in the basement in the Eixample. So that often the moments of great cultural effervescence are accompanied by gastronomic effervescence.
Sure, big time. And especially the end of the 20th century and beginning of the 21st, it was a really interesting moment in Catalan culture, and still nowadays. I think it's this combination of new and old that we always have, especially in Barcelona. Barcelona is a city it's always modern. I think it was Dalí that said so. It's like we are condemned to be modern, and it's I think I think this is very cool. But we also have this very traditional part of the Catalan food also. So this combination is what gives us a strong foundation for the creativity.
Yeah. So after Bulli, or do you want to say anything more about it?
No, and it was precisely when I was working there that I've learned that the kitchen could dialogue with other disciplines. And it was Ferran Adrià was always insisting, if we travel to, I don't know, London to do a conference or whatever, instead of hanging out and going with other chefs to parties, whatever, we went to the museum or to see this building, because he was very passionate about architecture. We were constantly working with designers, creators of all kind, and trying to learn from them.
He did an amazing show in Soho, I don't know, 5 or 7 years ago of just the drawings that he did, related to it. It was beautiful.
Yeah, and it's we all learned this. The crew that were working at Albuli at this time, we learned that the kitchen.
Who else was there? Who were your companions?
Eduard Chatruc, who now owns the Disfrutar restaurant in Barcelona, one of the best restaurants in Barcelona and Europe, actually. Oriol Castro, Mateu Casanyes, who's performing in one of the videos, and Jordi Parra, many other chefs that local chefs actually, that then they had different careers, and but yeah, they like me, they all dialogue with other disciplines and try to learn all the time.
Amazing. So after Bulli?
Okay, so then Chef Ferran Adrià offered me the possibility of taking over the kitchen of Fundació Alicia, the Alicia Foundation, which was a new project back in 2005, and it was about using the culinary creativity to try to solve people problems, people who have issues with food, like diabetes or cancer or different conditions that affect the way you eat. So the idea behind it was to use the same creativity that we were using at Albuli, but for a social purpose, or to try to help people.
Right. I remember when in 2004, when Alicia was announced, and I wrote to them immediately because I wanted to do something with them in New York, and they said, "Oh, we have to build the building. We can't." And it's one of my great frustrations. We'll still have to do it.
Yeah, we can make it happen.
We can make it happen.
Yeah.
But one of the beautiful things about Alicia is also what you were talking about before, the combination of the medieval monastery with the most modern kind of technology in the kitchen. Right?
Yes, and being in Alicia was, for me, it changed my life professionally, because I had the chance to work not only with, as I did in Albuli, with creative people, but also with scientists. Right. And when I mean scientists, I mean like social scientists too. I work with anthropologists, historians, but also dietitians, technologists, chemists. And I've learned so much from all of them. And it was a constant interchange of knowledge and methodology. So we did projects about ancient cuisine, about historical cuisine, Barcelona historical cuisine. Part of it is reflected in this book, because this is also an historical book. This is my other passion, food history. And yeah, I met Professor Paul Freeman, who's also invited to the Sant Jordi. I met him there. Yeah, I did so many interesting things, and I had this chance of applying what I've learned about cooking creativity to other fields, and trying to apply this creativity, these creative techniques, because creativity is a methodology, it's a technique. It's not like people tend to think as creative chefs like crazy, creators. At Albuli, it was a job. It was a everyday job. It was a technique. We had methodology. So try to apply this to a more, I would say, social purpose. Yeah, it was great.
Amazing. And is there anything else we should know before we? Where did you go after that?
And then I don't know. It was my middle life crisis or something, and they offered me to move to New York, and I said, yeah, sure, because it was New York. And
Kansas, no, huh?
No, I can only live in the best city in the world, which is Barcelona, or the second, which is New York. So I'm not ready to move to the third. I'm not willing to move to the third, which is probably Girona. I don't know.
I don't know. It's not bad.
It's okay. No, I'm joking. No, it was the attraction.
I have my own doubts about which one is the best. Yeah,
it depends on the day, but it was a strong attraction for
Mhm.
New York that I had, and I knew it because I've been here many times before for work. And they offered me this project to take over this culinary studio downtown Manhattan.
Yes.
And I decided to move because it was a very nice project to promote plant-based eating,
Yes.
Which is something that is very on trend right now.
Oh,
and,
absolutely.
and yeah, we came with the whole family
Nice.
and we moved to New York.
Wow. Well, and I'm so happy you did.
Cheers.
Cheers.